Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we have unfortunately, yet another extremely disturbing story of people in religious power, people in scholarly power abusing children. Now, obviously, some of the more well-known ones are the Catholic Church at this point, but it's something that I have been reporting on for quite some time, and it spans really all sickos that get into this power spot. You see, when you don't have a lot of money or sway in, say, politics or entertainment, what better way to get involved in abusing children than exploiting schools and religions? And that's what we have here. Ex-principal was a sex predator who targeted kids of Holocaust survivors at Orthodox Jewish school, and fellow teacher sadistically sodomized students with objects, says lawsuit filed in New York by 38 former pupils. And it is Rabbis George Finkelstein and Macy Gordon. Gordon is already dead, died in Israel amidst all this abuse talk. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this article and the fact that there was a lawsuit filed in July where it didn't name any of the victims, but it has some other big names that are being sued, one of which is stepped down. So we're going to hit that in a moment. But I wanted to point out how this is systemic and how it's often covered up. For instance, I covered this story. A pediatrician molested countless children for decades, investigation confirms. And this is a Rockefeller University hospital. Okay, this man died without going to prison in 2007, molesting countless children. And it shows you how large institutions, religious institutions, in fact, this school, the Yeshiva University, we're going to go over, is actually the first Jewish high school in this country, founded in 1916. So these institutions have roots, and then there's generational cover-up. Just like the case of the Catholic Church in Pennsylvania that gained notoriety last year, that had victim after victim after victim after victim. And even today, just so you guys understand, this is less than a month old. They want the release of the files on these pedophiles, because if you don't think that the Pope, his cardinal buddies, and the rest of the upper echelons of the Catholic Church don't know what's going on, you are being extremely naive. Okay, so let's focus on this case right now. And the New York Daily News has a pretty detailed account of this as well. But the Daily Mail always has the best pictures, man. They really do. You can say what you want about them. They are a rag in many respects, but they have the best. Now, so let's go over this first, because in July, we see this $380 million lawsuit, and Norman Lamb, he steps down, okay? And by the way, the school is in White Plains, New York, so that's not quite New York City. It's upstate a little bit, but I think 45 minutes, an hour, you're into the city, no problem. The lawsuit, which was filed Monday in White Plains, New York, alleges a massive cover-up of the sexual abuse of high school students facilitated for several decades by various prominent Yeshiva University high school administrators, trustees, directors, and other faculty members, the Forward reported. The Forward first published details of the claims against two former Yeshiva University staff members late last year. George Finkelstein and Macy Gordon were accused of inappropriate contact with several students at the Yeshiva High School. Now, again, it doesn't name anybody. It doesn't go into the brutal details. Okay, remember, Finkelstein leaves the high school in 95. He's still alive. No charges ever brought against him. But the lawsuit names Rabbi Norman Lamb, the university former president and chancellor who stepped down last week, and Rabbi Robert Hurt, a former vice president of YU's Rabbinical Seminary. Only two of the alleged victims, Morjeski Twersky, who lives in Israel, and Barry Singer of New York, Barry is named in this new one, are named. The rest are listed anonymously. So even more people have come out. Now we're at 38 former students. Okay. And, this one rabbi would play on the fact that their parents, I think at least three of these people's parents were in the Holocaust, and he would tell them that they suffered enough. So after he molested them, he said, you wouldn't want to put this on your parents. Don't you tell them. It would be terrible. Here it is. The suit claims that he told victims their parents had suffered enough and would feel shame if they learned about the incidents. And unfortunately, in one of these cases, by the way, here's Gordon dying, the case with David Bressler, he is no longer in contact with his parents who are practicing Jews. He's not a practicing Jew. He married a Jewish woman, but he refuses to raise his children Jewish, and had her do the same because the religion just is associated with too much abuse to him. And remember, when you look at things like some of these orphanage outfits, some of these foundations, religious institutions like the Catholic Church, okay, like, you don't think that there were powerful people in the Orthodox Jewish community that knew this? 100% 100% they did. And it shows you how these rings operate, okay? First of all, the Gordon person and the sadistic things that he was doing to children, I don't really want to name on air, okay? But, one of them would use, I guess, here it is right here. If I mispronounce this, where is it? Basically, there's some kind of ritual clothing that they would put on, and he would use it to put his hands down his pants. I think that was Finkelstein, right? Yes, here we go. Barry Singer, 61. No, this is Gordon. So Gordon, who they said was very, very sadistic and used to put objects in children, okay, this guy, he said one of the many accusers claims that Finkelstein, so this is Finkelstein, would use the excuse of checking his tease-it ritual garments to carry out abuse. Singer said, he had put his hands down my pants regularly, which he did. He groped me in the office, but this also went on in the hallway with the kids watching my fellow students. The idea that the school didn't know what was going on in the hallway is just preposterous. And remember, these abusers often flaunt their power. They say, look what I can do. I can get away with this. And earlier this week, we did some stories on the royal family and their alleged abuse. And even our intelligence agencies, the FBI, with Lord Mountbatten, who was killed by the IRA, by the way. And when he was killed by the IRA on this boat with many others, he also happened to have his, I believe, his 15 or 16-year-old, it might even been 14-year-old, house boat boy on there. And the FBI is aware of this for decades, what that guy's doing, and yet he never goes to jail, and somehow he becomes the supreme allied commander of NATO, seems to be promoted. Why do these abusers get promoted? So, just going back to this story about the church in Pennsylvania and the cover-up there and the countless boys there, and again, to this pediatric doctor at the Rockefeller University. These are all very relatively new stories, okay? I mean, this came out, this is a May confirmation, but like I told you, this story was out last year as well. Why don't we have these files? Child sex abuse victims are calling on the New York Attorney General's office to release the Catholic Church's secret files on predatory priests, the Post has learned. Damn straight. On the heels of a bombshell Pennsylvania report on child abuse by Catholic clergy, former New York AG Barbara Underwood launched a sweeping probe in September of 2018. Underwood subpoenaed all 8 Catholic dioceses in the New York state to explore whether churches potentially covered up allegations of extensive sexual abuse of minors. Of course they did. Of course they did. Last week, Manhattan-based Marsh law firm sent a letter to current AG Latia James, urging her office to release the secret files. And they need to release these files. We need to find out what is going on and why it is going on. And these people don't need to be just publicly shamed. They need to be fucking arrested. Okay? I'm not coming down on anybody's religious beliefs, but the monsters among us that position themselves in places of power or even are in places of power and may not take part in this abuse, but then cover it up, they are disturbing, they are criminal, and they need to be handled. They need to be taken care of, period. So, these aren't the stories that I really love doing, but they are the stories that are out there that need to be reported on. And again, this is, and I want to point this out. Again, let's go to the bottom here, okay? The high school, also known as Marcia Stern Talmudic Academy, has taught boys since 1916. It is considered the first academic Jewish high school in the U.S. and the first to offer both Jewish and secular studies. So this is a historic high school where from the 60s to the 80s, at least two of these prominent men were molesting children. What else needs to be said? Folks, if you like what I do, I'm doing 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 videos a day on all sorts of subjects. We actually did a big Epstein Unsealed update earlier today. Obviously, this video, I had Robbie Martin of Media Roots on yesterday to discuss the 181 CEOs that have now pledged to save the world. It's people over profits. Bullshit. So if you like it, thumbs it up. If you're new to the Burmist Brigade, now's the time to subscribe, share this stuff all over. And guys, I'm doing it with your support. So $5, $10, $15 over at my GoFundMe means the world to me. Remember, there is no Patreon. There is no Subscribe Star. This is how I'm doing it 7 days a week. I want to thank you all, and I'll see you on the flip.